Good afternoon, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I am all on the topic of compassion. And I came across this great quote by Brene Brown. And the quote says, "Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others." So let me say that again. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. It was interesting because some of you know, that I'm very interested in looking into ancient scriptures right now. And I just heard this wonderful story. The thing about ancient scriptures is often learning is happening through stories. So it will be about experiences, or you might be familiar with parables. So that sort of idea that you learn from an experience that's shared about a story. So the story that I was listening to was about a man who was blind, and then his wife, who was not blind, but who chose to be blind to help him because she felt for him, right? So I wanted to look at this in the perspective of consciousness awareness to an expansion. So when we're aware of our own consciousness, we can look at this story and think, wow. Now, a lot of people would jump to that's the blind leading the blind sort of idea, right? So, which is interesting, right? But if we look at this experience and we're looking with compassion, we would think, wow, that's so not easy for him to be blind. And it's so not easy for her to take on the same experience as him because she wanted to be empathic or be empathetic to that experience. So remember that empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So that ability to understand and share oftentimes is not really understood until that experience is had. So in her experience, she was trying to understand. And that would be us being compassionate in this story for both people, right? So then we think of, okay, as consciousness expands over time, she would realize that this isn't so easy. It's really not easy. And wait, I've got sight. So I could probably help more if I can see. So I'll give him my arm. I'll take off the blindfold that I put on my eyes and I'll give him my arm, and then we'll get around easier. And sure enough, it's easier. So that's consciousness expanding. It's a different way to see that situation. If consciousness expands even further, she might say, I need to be able to teach him to be able to get around on his own so that he's not dependent on me all the time. So she might give him some ideas of, hey, you know what? Maybe if you touch here, if you are moving along with your hands, you're able to feel your way to get to these locations that I'm familiar with so that we can get to those and you don't feel dependent on holding onto my arm. That's great. That's consciousness expanding again. And then consciousness can expand further. So, again, even in that situation, it would take his participation of, yeah, you know what? That is actually much easier for me and easier for you too. So, we're expanding together consciously or unconsciously. They're going to go through that expansion and that awareness. So, they're working now this way. When consciousness expands again in this same situation, he might say, I want to go to this place, but you have never taken me to that place. This is the place that I've heard about and I want to go there. And she thinks I'm kind of scared to go to that place because I'm not comfortable with going with that place. So it takes a bit of conscious expansion to allow that experience for another person, not necessarily with, okay, well, if I go with you, you can go there. Because in a person's expansion of their own abilities and their um, courage to do different things. It is a great experience for him to be able to do that alone without needing someone with him in that time to try to explore, to expand his consciousness and hers too, right? Because she would be expanding with just that trust of he's going to be fine. And he would be expanding with thinking, she knows I'm going to be fine. I know that she worries about me, but she's going to be fine too. So, those are all the beautiful ways of looking at it. I think one more step would happen in conscious expansion, and this would be the goal of conscious expansion to our best places where it is through love that these things are happening. It is through loving both the self and the other. So, for example, if we're looking at the wife It's from loving that he is improving in how he's getting around and that she's helping, but he's mostly becoming independent in this. And she loves seeing that he is gaining that independence. From him, it would be that whole idea of loving that she was so helpful at first that wanted to actually share the experience with him. And then over time, she's so giving in terms of him learning how to do these things himself. And the other thing is one more step, right? So that love space for him would also probably get to, and I hope it would get to, a place of what can I do for her? What can I do for her? So this is what she does for me. And I can see forever she's caught in the space of where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Do I stop and think, where is she? Now, when that love is shared from that perspective, not the thank you for taking care of me, but the space of what can I do for you? Every step of this process of this conscious expansion can come from both sides, really looking out for each other, for exactly where they are in their personal experience. So, in their personal experience, they're each going through slightly different things. But for love, each one often will look for the other's happiness and peace and comfort and joy. And so that would require a compassion from both sides, right? Towards the other. That to me is love. And that would be the goal of ah, whether conscious expansion or conscious awareness or conscious evolution or enlightenment. The goal, I believe, is always going to be the highest good for all, which will encompass love. So remember that there is also a quote by Buddha, which you may have heard, and I'd like to share with you. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Compassion all around. I hope that for 5 minutes after this video, you sit down and see what is the space from which you ask for or receive help, and what is the place that you give help from. I hope that you're giving from a place of love, and I wish you that for today and the weekend ahead, and of course, all the days of your life. I hope you have a fantastic day, and remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Bye bye.